What's going on, everybody? My Venom voyages. So, I'm gonna be doing something kind of interesting today. I'm going to be taking this off, cut this down with a hacksaw, and throw this on there. Pretty sure you've seen a couple videos with these, so won't be that much difference. Just kind of want to show you what the perspective is, from a novice. The adapter that I got for it, I actually called Venom and they sent the link to my phone for this particular part in order to put the slip on. So it's gonna look like this. This is gonna be clamped into the existing pipe. But before we get into all of that, I really want to see how long it's about to take me to hacksaw this off of here. So let's start there. I just keep my little handy tool here because it's easier and more compact. I have bigger socket wrenches, but this one's just easy to carry. If I wanted to, I could throw it in my backpack, take it with me. Quick. Not so quick. Make sure you keep track of every screw, every bolt, every part. Make a map of it if you need to. That way you can put it back how it was in the way that you see it. All right, now that we got the cover off, we're gonna go and get these bolts off. These, what is this? 13, 12 millimeter. So I know 11 is gonna be, yeah. So 12 millimeter socket. Oh, you know what? Let me take this disc off really quick. Before I even start fooling with this bike, I have a disc lock on there and it's really, really sensitive. So the moment I start jerking at this bike, it's gonna go off. And I think I showed that in a previous security video. By the way, I did end up getting an anchor too, so it's anchored to the ground via, oh shit. There we go. Just want to get them loosened up to turn with my hand. These bolts here are gonna remain. So you're not gonna use the bolts that actually came with the housing for the exhaust. You're gonna be using these existing bolts. I'm gonna cop a squat. When I do this, take my phone out my pocket. Again, if you got power tools and things like that, then of course you know that works. Me, total DIY. Most of my tools, I get as I need them. So I don't have a gang of tools, power tools and drills and things like that. But I got a few. We're gonna have to take a hacksaw, cut it right there at the base. Nothing fancy. Just a standard Hart 12-inch hacksaw. Pretty decent blades. The blades themselves were like $3 for two. I didn't even see any more on top of that price because I was like, I don't want to go through 1,000 blades trying to do this, so I don't mind spending a couple extra bucks just to pay for the quality of the blade. And I think this one is pretty good because you can rotate the blade. I read in the forum that it's probably going to be easier to turn your blade around and approach it like this. And that way you're coming away from the bike and you're not doing any damage, because you can try and, you know, do it like this and stand on the opposite side of the bike like this. You want to make sure you get like right at the base, right before it starts to do that little, because it gets, like, you probably can't see it with the naked eye, but it bows when it gets here. So it probably expands in diameter by, I don't know, a fraction of a millimeter or something. Math wasn't my strong suit. Now let's see how long this takes me. Oh. Probably about 5 minutes. Do not go and rent a tool from Home Depot and pay a deposit on a credit or debit card. Go get you a hacksaw. I didn't even need the extra blades. Next step is going to be throwing this puppy on, which this is what, like $28 and some change on Amazon. But this is the part that Venom refers to. So you shouldn't need any welding, you know, any type of seal or anything. As long as you clamp it good and spring it, then you should be fine. Now the springs, on the other hand, I think they're going to be a pain in the ass. So if you got it like this, and you have to adjust it to make it fit and be lined up with the pipe itself. So it would sit like this if you were to weld it. Like if you spot weld, you wouldn't actually need the adapter. It would just be able to sit like that. Even with the adapter all the way here, because that means we're going to have to depend on this one here to support the carbon fiber exhaust here. It just doesn't seem too sturdy. It doesn't have as much support as it would without the adapter. Even with that, you still wouldn't be touching this. This only comes with one bracket, so it would only be tied in right here anyway. But even more so with the adapter, you see how much room it leaves right there? And the rest of this pipe is just kind of hanging. I don't really like that. But this is what Venom recommended. So we're about to see how this goes. And then we take our springs here and here. Where's the other one? Here and here, here and here. And hold it together. Clamp this down. All right, let's see. And I think, you know, they were really illicit about saying, you know, not to cut too far off of the flange. Because again, you kind of, I don't even see how you would do it with that right there, but you kind of need it to be like, kind of, if you could see, I don't know how you would cut that weirdly to where you would be able to put it on the angle. Seemed like that would have been the only way of it being secure. So, and you see how much I cut off. But on the other side, it's not really as much as it is. But it seems like we would have to cut in the middle of where you see it actually really bowing out right there. So, what I did, and I may need 2 of these. I don't know how thick it is, but Tiger Patch, heavy duty exhaust repair. It's not meant to actually repair the exhaust. There's nothing that's wrong with it, but I feel like, let me see here, yeah, you can see. So if I wrap it around here several times, then I should be able to get this on here and alleviate any type of emissions leak or exhaust leak or anything like that. See if I can get this up in here. Holy crap. Do it just like that. Boom. So if I clamp that, now it should clamp down on to the Tiger Patch, thus for creating a seal. So when I beam my light through there, I shouldn't see any beacons of light. That mamma jamma is on there. Now I can take my pipe and go here. You see what I'm saying? Like that. And attach the springs. But before I do that, we got to go ahead and get the bracket on here that came with this. So this is the bracket that comes with it. So they give you the rubber, the bracket, cool little Venom Motorsports emblem here. Of course, they give you the springs that you need, these little clips here, and your screw for your tailpipe that you're not going to use here because this screw is too small. And they give you this. I don't know what this is for exactly. Maybe if there was some type of other bracket set up. Of course, you wouldn't put it there. I'm just kind of dicking around here. But that's how we're about to mount the bracket. I'm going to take our clip here, take this off. The rubber goes inside of this here. I'm just kind of putting it on there like this as I go along, because you have to put this on before you put the actual bracket on. We'll take our bracket and put it where it's going to be catching, just like that. And as you can see, it doesn't leave much wiggle room, obviously, and kind of go here, I suppose. Looks like that's the only way it's going to work. It's like that. So let's get our ratchet, our socket, I mean. And that particular one is the 14, I said, I believe. Let's see here. Yep, it's 14. So 14 millimeter. This thing scratches your carbon fiber, by the way, so be careful with this.
Eight hours later.
Alright, what's going on, great people? So, a lot of interesting things has happened since my camera cut off, per the last slide, whichever way it came. But, yeah, my camera died. I was still talking away. Talked through putting the exhaust on till I realized that the camera was dead. So, put the camera on a charger, pretty much not went to sleep, but just called it a night. Woke up the next morning, and timing couldn't have been better because the 90-inch springs came. Now, what I will say is, because if you were following from the beginning of the video, from what I was talking about, I started with 55 millimeter springs. Those do not work. You will kill yourself trying to get them on there. Then I bought 80 millimeter springs. Nearly killed myself with the same regard trying to get those on there. Order some 90s. They gave me a little bit of trouble, but they went right on there. So that's my recommendation if you get that particular adapter. Furthermore, if you do get that adapter, then you're more or less going to end up going the route that I went, because again, I put the springs on there. I was riding. I wouldn't call it hiss. I did get a little rattle. Realized that, there was a leak in the exhaust because of the way the adapter is set up. It was still coming out of the other end, so I can't get max performance like that. So what I did was I went and got the Tiger Patch seal, put that stuff on there, burned right off within, like, I don't know, a day. Because it's supposed to be concrete hard, but not hard like concrete, but more like steel. And I put it around the edges of where the exhaust meet with the middle adapter before you even get to the other piece with the springs on it. And the end of that, I put some in there, rolled around, got a little smoke, a little weird smells, only to realize that after the 24 hours to cure that they say, still doesn't work. I still had a leak, and I just couldn't, like, I was riding good. You're going to get a good ride, but you never know the max performance until you actually close up all those gaps. So with that, I sucked it up, went and got, or not went and got, but went on Marketplace, looked up a mobile welder. They pulled right up on me for $100. Wherever you stay at, if this is an option for you, this is going to be the best option. To go ahead, get you a hacksaw, take the flange off yourself, rather than go and pay somebody else a couple $100. Pay $15, get a hacksaw. You only need one blade. Take the flange off yourself. That's it. Call or look up a welder on the Marketplace and have them come over. The only thing that I did have to do with the weld is I had to have them, I had to take the whole exhaust off. So let's see here. All right. So let me get this ISO up a little bit, make it a little brighter for y'all. So $100. He came over. It took him about, I don't know, like 30 minutes for the weld. Now what I was saying was, because he wanted to be professional, and not leave any room for gaps or leaks, he wanted to take the whole exhaust off. So we went ahead and removed these bolts up in here, these bolts over here. Of course we removed this too, but we removed those 4 bolts. And I think it's like a 10 and a 12. You're not gonna get it with a regular socket wrench. You gotta use like the actual like wrenches. And that's how we were able to get in there, because those screws are a pain to get to with a socket. It's just not going to happen. So we ended up getting in there with some wrenches. They were fairly loose. That's why it's always good to make sure your bolts are tightened up. But we ended up pulling those bolts out of there, and then he took the whole thing off, and then welded it all the way around, and then we put it back on. So the whole process probably took about like 1.5 hours. He would have been done in 35 minutes if I had already took the exhaust off. But I thought, he had some type of magical tool that could do it all the way around, apparently. But it's way more effective to be able to take the exhaust off and let him do it all the way around. And for $100, you can't really beat it. So with that, now I can ride with ease. I don't have any hiss. I don't have any leaks or anything. Save myself a couple $100 on the install itself, because I cut the flange off myself, as you saw from start to this point. And let me see here. I think I got my key, because what I'm going to do is, I keep them anchored down. As y'all seen in some of my security, well, one of my only security video where I was speaking about the anchor, as far as one of the security features that I have. So I have the anchor, the U-lock, which came with this chain, but I had already bought the master lock, so I just kept it and decided to use it for a disc lock. And then I spoke about this little mama jamma here too. If I get to messing with the bike, it will go off. So we're gonna go ahead and, that's the wrong key. I got 2 keys and it trips me up every time. So take that off. I'm gonna start it up here. We already been outside today, so shouldn't have to do too much warming up. There we go. Look at that. Got my brake lock on there too. I think I spoke about the baffle, removing it versus not removing it. If not, I'll put some feedback in the upload. But to me, it had the bike like a Harley without the baffle. Whatever reason, I feel like it takes away from the performance, because it was so deep and impactful. It just seemed like it took more torque to get up to speed. Could have been in my head and it's just doing the same amount of torque as it's always been, and it's just louder. But to me, it seemed like with the baffle off, it kind of took away from the performance. So I put it back on. Like I said, if I want to go to like a bike show and let my nuts hang or something like that, then maybe I'll go ahead and take it out, because I know I won't be doing too much, but a little bit of revving. But just like casual riding every day, I wouldn't suggest that at all. And 2, let me tell you, that screw is a pain. My tools aren't magnetic. I haven't took that screw off one time where it hasn't fell down in the tip. I thought all hope was lost and I was gonna have to ride with it until common sense was like, just take the exhaust off. Cause you know they come upside, you have to mount them upside down. So I was just like, take the exhaust off, turn it upside down, shake it right out. I've had to do that like 3 times because that's how many times I took the baffle off just to kind of see, you know, how it rides and things like that. But now, since I got the exhaust welded to the middle adapter piece, which was welded to the big adapter piece and the tailpipe, it all creates this one piece now. So either I need to get me a magnetic tool so when I get ready to remove that screw, I can ensure that it doesn't fall, or I have to be prepared to take that whole exhaust off all the way up to the bike if that screw goes in there. You don't want to lose that screw. So that was just a helpful FYI. And this has been another episode of my Venom Voyages. Talk to y'all later. So I gotta move how